I just have a couple of points to make on the English farmers and the inheritance tax that is being introduced there in 2026, because it directly applies, right? It's this a similar sort of worldview, right? A similar sort of attitude towards wealth in England and in Ireland, right? So in England in 2026 they're introducing 40% tax on farmers who have assets that are worth more than 1 million, right? And a lot of people are applauding this, and it's socialists, communists, right? People that don't believe in private property, they're incapable of thinking of an individual generating their own wealth because they will never be able to do it themselves. So they're full of envy, right? So in order to satiate that envy, they want other people to go and take other people's stuff, and then hopefully they'll get a little bit of it, right? So they're not even brave enough to be thieves themselves, but they'll support theft, right? So what this will do essentially is cripple farming. It'll destroy it completely, because farmers aren't sitting on mountains of millions and millions and millions of pounds of euros, right, in cash. They have assets, which means largely they have land, right? They don't have the hard currency, right? They have assets. So in order to pay this inheritance tax on the assets they will have to sell their assets to get the cash to pay the inheritance thing. So they're getting shafted both ways. Number one, they're losing their assets. And number two, they're paying for the privilege of losing their assets, right? Because over time, their estate or their land will just shrivel up, and God knows what's going to be built around it, right? And you see a similar thing in Ireland, where farmers are regulated to the point where they can't grow probably at a level that they would like to, right? You have the nitrate regulations where they're not allowed to have a certain amount of nitrogen in the cow manure in case it seeps into the land and goes into the water, right? Which means they have to limit the size of their herds, which means they might have land that could be used for additional farming, which would lower the price of food in Ireland. It would increase the amount of money coming in through international sales, right? That'd be good for everyone, right? But you're going to see a similar sort of thing creep in Ireland, and you can see people before profit and that they have their eyes on that of stealing people's stuff, certain people's stuff, right? Private individuals, their stuff, right? And yeah, look, that's where you're at the moment. But the attitude that comes with stealing people's stuff, because that's what it is, right? That's what it is. Because it's interesting. So you look for consistency in these things, right? Have a look at them. Where's it coming from? What do they mean by this? What would the outcome be? Are they being consistent in their aims across all areas of society, right? So in this instance, the government and the regulations. So the nitrogen levels need to be limited in case there's contamination of the water supply or it affects the water supply. Sounds reasonable, right? But then you look over here and you realize that this government is actively buying industrial waste, fluoride, and dumping it into the water. So that they might not, it doesn't seem to me that they're overly interested in the quality of the water you're drinking in Ireland, right? It seems like a land grab, right? And it's a scandalous land grab, and I hope people see it for what it is, right? It's just a way of legalizing and legitimizing theft, and for the common good, right? The common good would be taking restrictions off the farmers, leaving them use the assets they have to the best of their ability, because no one else has that ability. They're the ones with the, not just the inherent wealth and assets, but the inherent ability, the wisdom to be able to work the land and yield the best results from it, right? There's no politician doing that, right? So leave them use the land, use their assets, use their know-how to the best of their ability, because that will involve growing more, producing more. And when you have more of something, the price of it comes down, right? Right? they would also be able to export more, take in more, bring in more money, more trade deals, right? There's a positive to that. There is no positive to regulating farmers out of existence. And then after the majority of them kill themselves or have to sell their land for pittance, what gets put in its place, right? So don't entertain this idea of robbing people's wealth, right? It doesn't belong to you. You did not earn it. You had absolutely no hand in creating it or sustaining it. Go away. Go back to college, because that's where a lot of these dyed in the wool kind of communists come from, right? They don't believe that you should have the ability to create wealth, to retain wealth, and to pass wealth on to your children, right? They don't believe in it. They want it gone. They want to take your stuff, and they want you dead or in jail if you disagree with that. That's what history tells us, right?